Alright, this video is gonna be tips for every weapon in Block Tales. And we're gonna start from worst weapon to best weapon. So let's start with Ball. So, first of all, these are the cards you're gonna be using on Ball. These are the only cards you need for Ball. So you could get Snowball right over here. So you get Snowball from going inside this and over here. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys already know this, but over there is going to be where Snowball is. And now our second copy of Snowball is going to be over here. In the manor, we're just going to walk forward, talk to this person right here, and second Snowball right here. This is also where we're going to get one of our two fireballs. And let's go to our third Snowball location. And our third location is going to be on Town of the Heights. We talked to the penguin right here, and that's our third Snowball. So now let's get into our second Fireball location. So this is actually kind of like the first Fireball location because, like, the other one you can't get till Demo 3. But this one is the first Fireball you get. It's just like right here, near a Bucks right here. So that's kind of cool. And now let's get on to our final card, Line Bounce. And here we are. This is where Line Bounce is. So that's where you're going to get 3 Snowballs, 2 Fireballs, and 1 Line Bounce. Now let's get into the actual tips, now that we got our cards. Alright, our second tip is going to be this. So, when you get into a battle with the boss, you're going to want to first Fireball them. It doesn't matter, it could be any boss. I know Probiotic Plant is weak to fire, but it could be any boss. And then you're going to want to Snowball. And this is your pattern for bosses. Because he has burn applied to him now, and Snowball doesn't get rid of the burn. You see how much damage that was? That was freaking Snowball, the burn, and freaking the extra snow hit. So when you hit them with Snowball, they're going to take like 4 damage. And then they're going to take the extra 3 damage because we have 3 Snowballs on. And then they're going to take the extra fire damage. So this is like so much damage. It's literally like the highest we could do in the whole game probably. It is so much damage. And it's just this one simple pattern. See, look, 4, 3. And he has 2 defense. So like, if he had no defense, that would be doing like 6 and then 3, which is like freaking 9. Or it would be doing like 8, and then it would be doing the extra fire too. It is so much damage, so fast. And if they get frozen, that is freaking really good, because if they get frozen, now they miss their turn, and we just get more turns. But keep in mind, if you freeze them, do not use Fireball. Because if you freeze them and use Fireball, they're going to break out the ice. So you don't want to use Fireball when they're frozen. See how fast that fight was? I know Probiotic Plant is weak to fire, but that's just really good damage for any boss. But if the bosses are immune to being frozen, then it's kind of useless. But that is a really good ball tip. Also, another tip is to make sure you have a lot of SP, because as you guys seen, Snowball costs 6 SP to use, and that's kind of a lot, so you're going to want a lot of SP. It makes up though because we're doing so much damage, and Snowball has a chance to freeze them, so like, it makes up for the 45 HP that we get. But let's get on to our another ball tip. Alright, our next ball tip is going to be wind forcing like crazy. And I know they just died, but Wind Force applies at level 3 defense down. He has 2 defense, but because the level 3 defense down, he has 0 defense right now. Which means Line Bounce is stronger than ever. Line Bounce is good AoE, because if things have a bunch of defense, just hit them with a Wind Force, and now all their defense is basically gone. So that's like all the ball tips I got. Make sure you have 3 Snowballs, 2 Fireballs, 1 Line Bounce, use the Wind Force a lot, have a lot of SP, and Ball becomes one of the best weapons in the game. Now let's move on to Slingshot. Alright, the second tip for Slingshot is to also Wind Force. Because Wind Force, just like how Wind Force makes Line Bounce very good, Wind Force also makes Firecrackers very good. Because now Firecrackers is usable. See, look at how freaking good that is. If it was just always like this, then Slingshot would be like the second best weapon in the game. Because even though it can hit 3 people now, it still can't hit all 4 like Rocket Launcher. But if Slingshot was always like this, it would definitely be very fun to use. But because it's not, it's very freaking boring to use. But look at how good this is. Like, oh my goodness. I wish it was always like this. This is very nice. Yeah. Tip number 2, to always win force if you have it. And now, the final tip, which isn't really a tip, is spam Power Shot, because the animation for Slingshot is long as hell. So, Power Shotting just does one single bop, and then that's all. But the normal Slingshot, you have to sit through 8 bops, which is pretty freaking long. So, it's not really much of a tip, kind of just like a time saver, but yeah. Always win force if you have it. Well, not always, because sometimes you need a Ghost Walker or Ice Dagger, but like, yeah. Power Shot to save your time, win force to lower defense and use firecrackers, and yeah, that's kind of like all for Slingshot. Let's move on to Sword. Alright, tip number 1 for Sword is to freaking be smart when it comes to first strikes and days. And, well, basically just charge in days or first strikes in days. What I mean is, days is freaking one of the best cards ever, because... Okay, so if I didn't first strike here, it would do 6 damage to him and 1 damage to him. But because I first struck, Daze is now going to kill this guy, and gonna set up the second guy for me to just one-shot him. So, charging or first striking with Daze. Be smart about when it comes to using Daze is the first tip. Don't be a freaking idiot. And now let's get on to tip number 2. Alright, tip number 2 for Sword is Sword Toss is actually counted as a ranged weapon. So his stance is Sword. That means if I go up to him and use Sword, he's gonna deflect it and do 5 damage to me. But if I Sword Toss, it is going to count as ranged weapon. So Sword, like, is freaking goated for Captain Trotter, because Captain Trotter can switch stances to ball or sword. So when he's in his ball stance, use Sword. When he's in his sword stance, use Sword Toss. Because Sword Toss counts as a ranged weapon. That's the second tip for Sword, and I'm pretty sure that's the last tip. Because Sword is like a really good weapon, and there's not much to say about a really good weapon, other than that it's really good. So, let's get on to Rocket Launcher, the freaking best weapon in the game. Alright, the first tip for Rocket Launcher is 2 hit markers. Just like Cobalt, they are not very just in your face on how to get the card, so I'm going to show you guys where to get both hit markers. So the first one is going to be right out here, and just come out here, go to the side of this castle, talk to this guy, scroll down, and you get 1 hit marker. And the second one is going to be over here, in the manor, just to make your way to the Banished Knight, and he is going to be selling another hit marker. So, yeah, make sure you get both hit markers, and let's get on to the second tip. Alright, so second tip for Rocket Launcher is hit marker actually does +1 damage. I know it's freaking like confusing, but hit marker does +1 damage and applies the status. Like normally it would do 5 damage to him and then 2 for splash damage, but it just does 6 to him. It doesn't even say it in the card, so I don't know why it does that, but it does that. And now let's get on to the third tip. Alright, our third tip is going to be apply hit marker to as much as you can and then bombardment, because you heal more. You see that? I had 2 hit markers on, and using bombardment healed me for 2 extra. So I know that's not like really that good, but when it comes to bosses, it could become a lot more useful. And that's basically all for Rocket Launcher. I just showed you guys where to get the hit markers. I showed you guys that hit marker for some reason does +1 damage. Like, look, I did 6 damage to that one that is dead now because I bombardment, but hit marker did 6 damage to him, but if I use it on him, it's just gonna do 5 and 2. That's, oh, it did 3, because he had half defense, because the battle armor that the guy put on him, but it would have done 5 and 2. I don't know why hit marker does +1, but it doesn't say it, but that's all the tips for every weapon. Oh, one more tip is to have a lot of SP, just like how ball needs a lot of SP. Rocket launcher also does, because hit marker costs 5 SP to use. So the ball tips are use wind force so that line bounce becomes very good. Have 2 fireballs, 3 snowballs. Apply fire to a boss. Spam snowball for your life. Slingshot tips is to use freaking power shot so you don't sit through that long animation. Use wind force so that firecrackers actually becomes good. Sword tips are be smart when it comes to using daze, and sword toss counts as a ranged weapon. And the rocket launcher tips are hit marker. The more you have it on people, the more you heal for when you use bombardment. And hit marker also does +1 damage for some reason. It also doesn't do AoE, which is confusing. And also have a lot of SP when it comes to using rocket launcher. So that's all the tips for each weapon to make them very good. And if you put all these tips into play, every weapon becomes kind of freaking good. Like in my tier list video, I said that ball, slingshot, sword, rocket launcher are just very weird when it comes to balancing, but all these tips put together makes all of them very balanced. Freaking ball and slingshot don't become as bad now because wind force is a thing, and because ball, I don't think ball was ever bad because it has snowball, which makes you do so much damage. But yeah, that's all the tips I got for y'all. And something I want to say is how to balance weapons. I know, like, this isn't part of the tip video, so if you guys want to just click off now, you can. But how I would balance the weapons, hold on. Devs, if you are watching this, please do this. To balance all the weapons, here's what you gotta do. First, ball. Make fireball go through defense. Like, fully pierce it. I know that's a weird change, but it should fully pierce. Because ball needs something that could pierce defense. Or, like, make it at least, like, don't... If you guys don't want to fully make it pierce, at least make it pierce some of their defense, because it's stupid. Fireball should pierce all defense. And slingshot, slinger should combo with firecrackers, because firecrackers AoE does not hit enemies that have defense. So I've said this so many times, and it's like the most annoying thing ever. If you have Slinger on, and you use Firecrackers with something that has 1 defense, it will go through. But then, if something next to the thing you're using Firecrackers on, has 1 defense, the AoE will not hit them. It's so dumb, and please change that. If they change it, that would be fine. And they don't have to make it, like, fully broken. They could make it to where you have 2 Slingers on, and the Firecrackers AoE will only count for 1 slinger. You have 3 enemies. 2 of them have 2 defense. 1 of them has 1 defense. You hit the one in the middle. The middle one has 2 defense. You pierce his defense, and the one behind him that has 1 defense also takes damage. But the other 2 defense one doesn't. I don't know if you guys understand me, but that will make Slingshot balanced. That would make it so good. I think sword is pretty balanced. And then rocket launcher. Make bombardment timing harder. Make hit marker status go for less turns. And make the normal rocket launcher do 4 damage and 2 AoE. Yeah. I think that'll be pretty good. But anyways, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys.